The Charleston Wine and Food Festival will return in March for its 17th year. Today, I talk one-on-one with new Executive Director Alyssa Smith for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Alyssa Smith, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. You know, you were recently named the Executive Director of the Charleston Wine and Food Festival, which is one of the biggest festivals here in Charleston. And I know it was a few months since you were named. Tell me, how's the job going right now for you?
Things are going really well. We are about 2 weeks out from the 17th installment of Charleston Wine and Food. We'll kick things off on March 1st down at the Cistern for opening night. And by the time we close on March 5th at the finale at the Cigar Factory, we will have produced 112 events in 5 days and fed nearly 30,000 guests from all over the country and the world who are coming to participate in what we have going on here in Charleston.
And you talk about, obviously, those events and those number of people that you're actually serving. Let me go back to last year. How many people actually attended your festival?
Last year was our first year back from COVID. 2021, we had to cancel the festival. We were overwhelmed with how excited people were to get back to live events and just be out and about, outside, getting to eat, getting to drink, meeting friends, networking with people who they don't normally get to see. And we had almost 35,000 people participate in the festival last year.
Wow. So how much money did that generate for your festival?
So the economic impact for the city of Charleston and beyond from just the 5 days in March for 2022, we did $26.9 million for the region in economic impact. And that doesn't even include the local businesses that we as an organization support and that we rely heavily on their partnerships to help us produce this event.
So you talk about all those local businesses. What exactly are those businesses that are helping you this year, and which ones were helping you last year?
So we have a lot of repeat, which is great. People who've been doing the festival every single year. We work with basically every event company in town. Snyder is one of our largest partner vendors. Spike, Event House, EventWorks, curated event selections. I mean, you name it, and we're working with them. And we completely, their inventory really is what we rent for servicing the festival. And outside of that, a lot of people don't realize that the behind the scene vendors that are needed to make this festival happen, the people who service, portalettes, our staging partners, AV, music, trash, recycling, composting, all of the security officers that we hire and employ to make sure our guests are safe during the weekend. It really is a village, and it takes a whole community to put this event on. There are a lot of people that go into making this thing successful.
So how many vendors do you have so far?
Hundreds that we work with. This year, as far as our food and beverage, we have about 500 participants in this year's festival for food and beverage professionals. And then I would say a couple hundred as it relates to all of those other areas that you have a successful event. Lots of musicians on the booking for this year. Pretty much any live event that we do outdoors, we always have a musical component. Music goes really well with food and wine, and people like that when they're having a good time. And we're super excited about our headliner this year is Nappy Roots. And they are going to be performing at the Music Farm for an event called Hip Hop's the Remix. So we're super excited to have them on board. DJ D-Lord is going to be the DJ for the night, which is a South Carolina native. And just some really good tie-ins. That's going to be a super fun event.
Yes, I'm sitting just blocks away from the Music Farm. But how many musicians do you have overall for this overall event?
We have probably about 50 musicians that participate in Charleston Wine and Food.
Wow. So I know you talked earlier about security, restrooms, people, the food vendors, behind the scenes vendors. Let me ask you, Alyssa, how many restrooms will there be actually for this year?
At which event? We have restrooms at all of our events. So I'm
And,
assuming Culinary Village.
yes, ma'am, at Riverfront Park.
Yeah, Riverfront Park. So we're working with a new vendor this year, which we're super excited about. We'll have plenty of portalettes, and then also we're bringing in some elevated restrooms through trailers for anyone that purchased one of those CV passes or one of our weekender passes. You have access to our VIP area, which we're building out right along at the top of the park, right along the water. There'll be dedicated food there, a dedicated bar, fun lounge, some photo moments, and then access to elevated restroom facilities in that space. So that's a definite perk of people who have one of those badges.
Now, speaking of which, how many people have already signed up for those weekend passes, and how many have actually signed up for the CV passes?
So the weekend pass is sold out on Saturday, and actually we just sold out at the end of last week our full Saturday Culinary Village. So there's no more tickets available to that day. Sunday will sell out probably pretty quickly. There's only a couple hundred tickets left for Sunday. So if you are a local and you want to snag that local's discount, make sure you get your tickets. When you check out with a 294 zip code, you're eligible for a discount for being a resident of the Charleston area. And then Friday, we'll have the most availability at this point still. If you're looking for a day at the Village, Friday would be that day, and you can get a ticket and you can still get a day pass for Friday as well.
Wow. And I know obviously you all are building, some VIP space out there at Riverfront Park for those people with those passes. So what type of infrastructure are you actually building at Riverfront Park to stay there for the next 3 to 5 years?
So we'll start build out of this event next week. Actually, it takes us 10 days to build out Culinary Village. It's such a large undertaking. And outside of what the guests see on the front facing side for the consumers, we have a whole village, if you will, behind the scenes. So we build out an entire prep kitchen. We have refrigeration trucks on site. We have a space for our talent and people who will be working that area. We have a batching kitchen where all of our cocktails and beverages are batched in-house, several shipping containers where we're receiving product for people. So there is a whole kind of matrix behind the scenes that feeds into making the guest experience top-notch. And then on the guest experience side of things, the tents will start going up next week. So if people are frequenting the park and they're seeing the setup, you can see every day it kind of transforms as more and more things get built out, including 2 stages. So we have a musical stage this year, and we also have our demo stage. And Riverfront Park has really some 2 areas that have great sources of power where those stages will be located, and they're far enough apart that if you're listening to the music, it's not interfering with what's going on the demo stage. As well as a new podcasting spot that we're doing out there called the Pod Cafe. So it's going to have a place where you can grab a cup of coffee or maybe meet your favorite barista, get out of the sun, listen to some cool podcasting, and maybe meet one of your favorite chefs.
That's exactly right. There's a lot of them coming, and I think one of our chefs is coming as well. But let me ask you, what is the average length of time an attendee will actually stand in line and wait to sample those foods and drinks?
So this year it's going to be totally different as far as the food and beverage samplings at the Village. So we have reimagined Culinary Village, really breathed some new life into it this year. We have 4 food-focused neighborhoods. All of the focused programming is centered around food. Within each of those neighborhoods, we've got our snack shacks, which is what most guests realize is the food sampling component. That's only one of 4 ways per neighborhood you can get food this year, which we're excited about. So we've added 3 other additional spots. So within each neighborhood, there's a catering hub where we've got caterers that are going to be preparing some small bites and samples that are included in the ticket that go with the theme of the neighborhood. So for instance, this year we have a neighborhood called Shucktown, really getting inspiration from one of our most sought after events, Shucked. And also how we eat here in the Low Country, because we are so perfectly situated right next to the ocean that seafood is a big part of the way we eat. And that neighborhood's going to be a celebration of seafood. So guests can get to sample Hamby. Catering will be serving up their famous shrimp and grits from that catering kitchen there. We'll have our snack shacks in that area as well, which will be seafood inspired bites from chefs that we have booked. In addition to that, we're building out what we're calling bite-sized demos. These are kind of more smaller demos, not what you're used to on the big demo stage, but like that, but in a more intimate setting. Those mini demo stages will feature 2 chefs per day. There'll be some seating in front of it where you can sit down, listen to what the chef's doing. And if you're in that area, you get to taste off of that. So that's a new food component as well. And then we've got the opportunity for buy-up. So if you're planning on spending the full day there and you kind of had your fill of samples and you want just a more substantial meal, there's the opportunity to grab a full plate from one of our buy-ups. And then the last thing you'll see roving around the Culinary Village this year is Lowe's Grocery Store is one of our partners this year, and they have some souped up snack carts that they're going to be kind of surprise and delight as you're like walking around the village. If you see one of those snack carts, grab yourself a little something off of that. So those are bunch of new food components that we've never had in the past, which will be new ways that people can sample. And that should really cut down on wait times for lines and the ability for people to get plentiful amounts of food.
So with all these new components, Alyssa, how much does this actually cost in the festival?
That question's hard to answer. So what I'll say is that 95 cents of every dollar that we spend is directly spent on the organization. So the ticket sales and the sponsorship really help us to keep, the sponsorship really helps us to keep those ticket prices lower. And then also we work with a lot of vendor partners that help us and really make this festival possible. I'm sure as any person who's operated a business, especially in the food and beverage scene, thanks to supply chain and COVID, prices of production have really increased in the past 2 years. And we're trying to make sure that we're being good stewards of the people that we work with and still producing an experience that our guests will love.
Now, has the supply chain issue hit you all in the pockets?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow. How much by year? I mean, year to year. I
mean, just one example for you, glass is a cost that across the industry, the cost of glass has skyrocketed in the past 2 years. And we work with a lot of glass through wine retailers, our commemorative glasses that we give out. And that's just one example of, of really increasing costs. Also food costs. And that's something that the organization does is we stipend every single participant in our festival. So every chef station, every beverage professional, they receive a stipend in order to facilitate that participation. So they're not coming out of pocket in order to participate in Charleston Wine Food. That's new for us this year. We're super excited about that. And it's a great way for us to give back to our local community and continue that economic development and supporting small businesses that make Charleston what it is.
And I want to get back to the economic development issue in a minute, but let me ask you, what is your strategy plan, Alyssa, to improve the entry and actually add more food vendors that you just mentioned?
The Culinary Village, the strategy there was really investing more in food vendors that can provide food at mass to individuals and trying to come up with with options that not only gave you food to eat, but satisfied that entertainment factor as well, because we are a wine and food festival. And when people are spending their time and their money to come to events, yes, they want to make sure that they get the value for the money, but they're really there because they want to be entertained. And that's something that's a benefit to our talent as well, that they're able to not only have somebody taste their product, but really to showcase their skills and create connections with the customer and the consumer. And hopefully those connections continue on beyond the festival, where people, really fall in love with what they experienced from a particular restaurateur or even bar manager, and they want to go back to the business after the fact, because that's how you continue that feeding into our local economy, more than just those 5 days of March, but year round.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And obviously, main base, and I want to get back to that in a second, but obviously, main base is North Charleston Riverfront Park. So, what is the wine and foods year-to-year commitment with the city of North Charleston?
So, Culinary Village is located in Riverfront Park in North Charleston. Outside of Culinary Village, we have 111 events that are in 5 different municipalities. So, and that is something that is strategic in order for us to achieve our mission as a nonprofit. Our mission is to enrich, educate, and uplift the Low Country's diverse culinary and hospitality community. And with that, we make a strategic effort to make sure we're doing events in different areas. So you'll see us in Somerville this year. We've got events out on Kiowa, Edisto Island, Sullivan's Island, Isle of Palms, Mount Pleasant, Ondaw. We even have an event as far as Hardyville this year. Chef BJ Dennis is doing an excursion, and he's taking guests out to that area. And that's strategic. It's important to make sure that we are being reflective of the entire Low Country. And in order to do that and really create impact for our region and our state, it's important that we have those events in different areas. So our relationship with those municipalities are super strong. And that allows us to continue to produce at the magnitude in which we do for this festival.
Now, in your strategic plan, Alyssa, when it comes to the Culinary Village, does the Charleston Wine and Food Festival actually plan to change their venue with that?
So we'll be at the Riverfront Park for this year of 2023, and we're in a multi-year agreement with the city of North Charleston, so we'll be there again next year. And the city of North Charleston has been absolutely wonderful to us. They're great hosts. What Mayor Keith Summey has really built out there is such a treasure to the community and to that city, and it's a great way to really pay homage to the beauty that we have here in the Low Country. And that's something that you'll see at this year's Village too, is making sure we're really capitalizing on the views right there on the Cooper River, and something that is really unique. While we who live here locally are very used to seeing the beauty that we have here in the waterways, some of our guests are not, who travel in from elsewhere. And so what a spectacular place to really give them a taste of the Low Country and what it's like to live here.
So how many guests actually travel from out of the state and out of the country to come here for the festival?
So we've got about 40% of our out of town, of all of our guests travel in from out of town. And we define that as a 50-mile radius outside of the city of Charleston. So that 50-mile radius includes those municipalities that I had just talked about, and really the Tri-County area. We have some attendees coming and actually participants coming internationally this year. We have a couple winemakers coming in from Italy. We've had guests from all 50 states over the course of our 17 years in existence. And it's something that, we're really proud of being able to showcase this phenomenal hospitality community that we have here in Charleston, and, really show the rest of the country and the world that we've got something going on here.
Now, how many of those international folks will be coming here?
So we have a handful of talent that come. We actually, when the direct flight, the British Airways flight started from England, we saw an increase in international travelers during March, which was really interesting and a cool thing to see. So kudos to the airport and the Explore Charleston team that made that happen, because that really does impact people's willingness to travel to Charleston.
Now, you talk about that multi-year commitment to the city of North Charleston. How many years are we talking?
We are in a 3-year agreement with the city of North Charleston. Wow. And we will, continue to have open dialogue with them. We absolutely love being in that venue. And it's a great way to to really create connectivity to the entire like kind of Tri-County area. One thing that's new this year that we're excited about with being in that venue is that we have shuttles running on loop. They'll leave from downtown at the Visitor Center bus shed. So if you are a guest that's staying in a downtown hotel, or you're a local that lives downtown, or kind of, one of the nearby islands, you can ride the shuttle to Culinary Village. So that shuttle system will also help to expedite entry into the village. So the city of North Charleston just completed their pedestrian bridge. So that shuttle will drop off on that side. So those guests have a completely separate entrance. They're able to really expedite into the area and hopefully alleviate, parking or any sort of like travel issues that people were experiencing in the past.
Now, speaking of the past, Alyssa, how much accommodation taxes are you actually receiving from the city of North Charleston?
Well, the city of North Charleston's accommodations program hasn't yet started back up since COVID. So they kind of shuttered that program during COVID, and the applications will be available starting this May. They're actually reigniting that program. And so we will apply for accommodations tax funding in May.
Well, let me ask you this then. How much accommodation taxes are you receiving from the city of Charleston?
We received $150,000 from the city of Charleston for marketing.
Wow. And pre-pandemic, Alyssa, how much accommodation taxes were you all actually receiving from the city of North Charleston?
I don't think I can answer that off the top of my head, Quintin. I'd have to look back. That predates my time as executive director with Charleston Wine and Food.
Sure, no worries. And how does Charleston Wine and Food actually allow North Charleston to match the city of Charleston's funds when it comes to accommodation taxes and actually funding the festival?
So that, I guess to answer your question, because I'm not quite sure how that we allow that, if you know what I mean, but we work with them and on a strategic way to make sure that we're able to produce the event that we want to produce. They offer a ton of support to the organization through security, power, staffing, fencing, parking, a lot of like logistical things that 100% help to alleviate the cost burden of producing something at this scale. So they've been absolutely fabulous partners to Charleston Wine and Food. And they've really seen a lot of growth in that area as it relates to new hotels that have opened and business. I will say that we heard a lot of really great feedback from businesses in that Park Circle area that definitely saw an influx of guests coming in and dining at their establishments, or maybe grabbing a drink at one of their bars. And that's what we want. That's the purpose of this organization and this festival, is to really drive business to the establishments that we have in the greater, Tri-County area. And it was great to hear that feedback from those North Charleston establishments.
Now, what type of feedback are you hearing from businesses in the city of Charleston with the events that you have here in the city of Charleston?
So a majority of our guests still stay downtown in city of Charleston, which is great. I actually ran into a hotelier last week at an event, and she said that their hotel is completely booked for the festival weekend, and that they've been booked since we launched our tickets in October, which is awesome because our area has seen a lot of growth. We've had a lot of new hotels opening, and if even with the increase in rooms that we have available, if we have hotels that are still booking up, that's absolutely phenomenal. So we love to hear that. We're super excited about that. The Mills House this year, which has been newly renovated, is absolutely stunning. They are the host of all of our beverage workshops. So if you're attending one of those beverage workshops, they're our hub. We'll be producing those in their space, and it's a great opportunity for guests too who are coming in from out of town, that they're able to stay at the place where maybe their events are taking place. And the other kind of hub activity that we have going on, all of our cooking classes are taking place at the Culinary Institute's Palmer campus, which is exciting as well. So we're working really closely with them to deliver some awesome educational hands-on classes. So yeah, things are going really well, and we're really excited for the festival.
Now, you talked about obviously October when the ticket sale started. So, how many tickets have you sold thus far?
We have sold almost 85% of all of the tickets we have available. We've got 84 sold out events out of 112. So there's still a chance to snag tickets and participate. And one thing that I think is definitely worth mentioning, for the first time ever, we are doing a free admission event. So in conjunction with the City of Charleston, we're hosting City of Charleston Wine and Food Street Fest. It's on the Thursday evening of the festival schedule. It's family friendly, which is also different from all of our other events because they're all inclusive. Those other events are 21 and up only. So this is an opportunity for people in the area to come out. You don't need to have a ticket. And King Street's going to be closed down from John Street to Mary Street, including Ann Street. The Psychedelics are going to be performing, which is a super fun band. We're creating a wine and beer garden on Ann Street so people can really get a taste of that experience that we produce in our Culinary Village as well. And we'll have vendors that are both brick and mortar establishments on King Street that will pour out into the street to do on-site dining. And then we're bringing in some other vendors from elsewhere within the city jurisdiction in order to come out and do anything from food, dessert. We've got some fun entertainers, some community family-friendly activities if you plan to bring your kids out there. And maybe a surprise performance or two, which I'm going to leave up for you got to come to check it out.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
get what that is.
Yeah, and I'm sitting right around the corner from there. But let me ask you, this new festival, why this? Why now?
This is an initiative of the organization that we really wanted the community to be able to participate. And we wanted to create something that created a hub downtown and continued to funnel business to those organizations that were downtown. And we wanted something that was family friendly. We've heard that feedback from a couple of years that while people absolutely love to attend, the events that are 21 and over, we really wanted to create a wine and food experience that was great for all ages. Create some activities that were for kids, some food that was fun for kids, and give families in the area the chance to get out and do something together. So that was kind of a multi-pronged approach of the brainchild behind this event and really working with the city to bring this to life.
And I'm running out of time, unfortunately, Alyssa. But let me ask you, speaking of feedback, have you had any conversations with the Beemont Hospitality Group to see if Credit One Stadium can actually be a venue for Wine and Food Festival in the next couple of years?
We have not talked about that yet this year, but they are, Charleston Place is an absolute fabulous partner of ours, and our organization's been working in very close steps with BMOC as they open. They've got a new hotel that they're opening, a new restaurant that they're opening, and so they've been really good community partners. And from the get-go, they've really communicated that they wanted to continue to create experiences and things to pour into Charleston that locals want to participate in as well.
And you talk about the locals wanting to participate in obviously your events. What demographics do you want to attract in the future?
So the local, and this is something that's actually changed. So last year we saw our highest attendance of locals, which was really excited, of people who lived in those 294 area zip codes. About 60% of our attendees were local last year. Also, that was, coming off of the pandemic where people weren't quite as comfortable with travel yet. So we will do that economic impact study with the College of Charleston Office of Tourism Analysis again post this festival, and we'll see maybe how that changes a bit. But really wanting to make sure that people who live here 365 days of the year feel like they're welcome, and that this is a celebration of our city and that they're a part of that celebration. And of course, we want to continue to show off what we do here for people who we have that are visiting, and we want them to come back and visit again and again and continue to patronize our local establishments that we have here.
And speaking of showing off, let's talk about the sponsors. How many sponsorships from 2022 are actually rolling over to this year?
We have a great, return rate on all of our partners, which we're excited about. We've got some new partners this year as well, which is great. And we could not do this event without the support of those organizations that either contribute in kind, financially, and those sponsorships are key to helping us to make sure that we're producing an event that is top notch and also continuing to keep ticket prices at a level that's not so high that it completely boxes out a ton of people who live here year round. And so we're super thankful for that.
Yes, ma'am. And obviously, as you mentioned in this particular interview, you talked about growth in this area. So, how does Charleston Wine and Food actually grow with smart growth, with this area growing?
So the way that we do that is making sure that we're being strategic with where we're producing events, making sure we're being inclusive with who we're inviting to participate in the events. One of the things that stipending program that I mentioned to you has really allowed us to increase, the diversity of participants. You don't have to be like a big restaurant group with a PR firm to participate in Charleston Wine and Food. We've been able to get a lot of more family owned and operated businesses to get involved in Charleston Wine and Food. And that's something that has really been a strategic look at the last couple of years. And I think it makes us a better festival. It helps us better portray to people who are coming to participate that they can taste, some of their favorite establishments. So that's another piece as we continue to grow, making sure that we're being good stewards there. And the last piece I would say is really working closely with our municipalities. Events put a strain on those organizations. And so making sure that we're being communicative and good partners. We cannot do live events without our local police force. Those off-duty police officers that are coming out to work or assisting with street closures or meter bagging to make sure that we're being safe too for people who are pedestrians or using the roads to operate on. And all of the administrators within those municipalities, our special events committee, our firefighters, our EMS, they all have a part to play in putting on an event of this scale. And I think that those are often the positions that people don't really think of when you think of the live events, and also the people that they need to be thanked for allowing us to do experiences like this within the cities.
Now, you talk about, getting obviously help from the municipalities, that is. Do you feel like that your festival is fully funded by most of these municipalities?
It's a collaboration, Quintin. So in order to do an event of this scale with so many different events, you have to have strong relationships in those municipalities and working with them to make sure that we're doing right by the people that live in those municipalities and also people that work in those offices. So to answer your question, absolutely, we would not be successful as an organization or as an event without those close working relationships.
Alyssa Smith with the Charleston Wine and Food Festival. Thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thanks, Quintin.
Thank you.